2008 London, England. A major international cricket final plays out under floodlights. A black helicopter appears above the stadium. It lands on the outfield. Out steps Alan Stanford, American banker. He walks to the VIP stand, carrying a black case. Cameras flash as he opens it. Bundles of cash, $20 million, he says, for the winners. The crowd cheers. Headlines run next morning. The billionaire who lavished money on cricket is celebrated. But that helicopter was also a marketing trick, a way to make a story, build trust, and lure the rich. Because the truth behind the spectacle was darker. This is the story of Stanford International Bank. A story about image, offshore secrecy, and one of the largest financial frauds of modern times. We go back to the 1980s. Alan Stanford grew up in Texas. He chased big deals, tried businesses, and learned salesmanship. In 1985, he relocated to Antigua and registered with Stanford International Bank, an offshore lender. Antigua offered privacy and light oversight. Stanford sold a simple promise: high, steady returns and exclusive service. Where ordinary banks paid 2 to 4% a year, Stanford advertised 10 to 12%. That spread alone attracted wealth. He spent it to impress. Yachts, private jets, luxury homes, sports sponsorships, political donations. He gave millions to charities and built an image of philanthropy. He courted cricket and the Caribbean elite. He bought trust in public view. For many years it worked. High net worth clients from more than 100 countries placed funds in his bank. By the mid-2000s, Stanford claimed to manage around $8 billion in client assets. The bank offered private banking, CDs, and a sense of exclusivity. But the mechanics behind the payouts were fragile. Payouts to longtime customers came from new deposits. Underneath the polished brochures, capital was often routed through related companies and affiliates. The apparent returns were sustained by fresh money, not by safe high-yield investments. This is the classic Ponzi pattern. When the global financial crisis hit in 2008, the house of cards shook. Investors worried. Withdrawals rose. Suddenly, the promised liquidity wasn't there. Regulators and journalists began to ask hard questions. In early 2009, U.S. and Antiguan authorities opened formal investigations into Stanford's operations. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission charged him with running a massive Ponzi scheme. Auditors and liquidators later found that a large portion of the claimed $8 billion did not correspond to real, recoverable assets. Client funds had been spent on lifestyle, political donations, corporate shuffling, and deals that left nothing recoverable. When it came to tracing money, the web was complex. Offshore trusts, shell companies, and cross-border transfers. In February 2009, Stanford tried to flee the country. He went to a private airfield, planning to leave Antigua. He could not complete the charter payment and was arrested there instead. For the public, it was a dramatic fall. The man who landed a helicopter on a cricket pitch now in handcuffs. The legal case moved quickly. Prosecutors documented fake account statements, forged documents, and elaborate transfers designed to hide the true flow of money. They showed how donations and sponsorships bought influence and prestige, and how prestige helped the fraud continue. In 2012, a U.S. jury convicted Alan Stanford on multiple counts of fraud. A federal judge sentenced him to 110 years in prison, one of the toughest sentences for a financial crime in U.S. history. The punishment made the headlines, but the criminal conviction did not return the money. Less than 10% of the alleged $8 billion was recovered and returned to victims. For most investors, the loss was permanent. Small savers, pension funds, and wealthy clients all took hits. Liquidators sold real assets, yachts, houses, and company stakes. But the sums recovered were small compared with claims. Why did Stanford's scheme last so long? first image and trust. Stanford bought credibility through spectacle, yachts, charity, cricket, and a carefully cultivated public persona. That reputation lowered suspicion among clients who equated visibility with safety. Second, the offshore advantage. Antigua's legal environment gave layers of privacy that slowed outside scrutiny. Multinational investigations had to thread multiple jurisdictions, which buys time. Third, social signaling. Sponsorships and high-profile donations made critics cautious. Politicians and charities benefited from the money. That social web dulled early alarms. Fourth, human bias. When returns look steady and the brand looks exclusive, people stop asking the hard questions. Greed and the fear of missing out help frauds grow. The aftermath was painful. Victims ranged from private savers to institutions. Antigua's reputation as a financial center was damaged. Regulators tightened rules on offshore banks and pushed for better transparency. Banks, trustees, and advisors reevaluated due diligence practices. Political donations and sports sponsorships were also scrutinized as ways fraudsters could buy influence. There are deeper lessons here too. First, always ask where returns come from. Is the yield explained by real investments or by new deposit inflows? Second, check the auditors and the auditor's auditors. Who verifies the verifier? Independent checks matter. Third, offshore secrecy can mask real risk. Jurisdiction matters. Fourth, reputation is not a substitute for transparent accounting. A flashy president or a public philanthropist can still be hiding insolvency. And finally, victims can be anyone. Charities, politicians, pension funds, and small savers all trusted the brand and lost money. Alan Stanford's fall also raised questions about deterrence. He received a heavy sentence, but most lost funds are gone. Justice came for the man, not full restitution for every victim. That gap matters. It highlights the limits of legal remedies when assets are hidden internationally. So what is the takeaway? Scams often wear respectable clothes. They buy prestige, team up with institutions that give them shine, and use spectacle to silence doubt. If you save or invest, protect yourself by demanding transparency, audited books, clear custody of assets, verifiable investment strategies, and lawyers who check structure, not sales pitches. Alan Stanford's helicopter was a show, and the show helped a fraud grow. But the bigger story is the human cost. Lives were changed. Small businesses collapsed. Retirements were destroyed. Regulation improved incrementally after the scandal, but the appetite for quick returns and glamorous endorsements remains. The Stanford scandal is a warning, not just a headline. It tells us to be wary of drama and to demand the quiet, boring truth behind promised returns.